So yeah, when you're asking for a woman to take full responsibility for something, you're saying is, hey, could you grow a dick for me? That would be great. And at that point, if she did, you'd probably suck.
79T 2458 learning call from Little Red Riding Hood. Take one.
Oh man. Hey guys, good morning. How's it going? How you doing? Let's turn this chummy off. Transition back. Oh, I hope everybody's having a good morning. I don't know. I'm having fun with this one. I haven't even had my coffee yet, so I'm not up. Welcome, Red Morning, the red pillest podcast to ever read the pill that red pilled. It's good to see you. I can't believe you're using that name. Didn't the guys ruin it? Dude, it's never been good. There has never been a time when red pill was ever... good morning. There's never been a time when the red pill was ever seen as interesting, as cool, as anything other than a pariah. So if you're listening to this and your wife's in the room, tell her, oh, I'm just learning how to avoid those Andrew Tate types, whatever. It's too hot. I went with cardamom this morning. If you guys haven't done this, by the way, for your morning coffee, when you grind up your beans, throw a couple pods of cardamom in there. Green part of cardamom, not the brown. It adds a nice lemony thing to there. Okay, so I've got a good one. I've got a good one scheduled for you guys. I'm even going to throw in some timestamps because this one's going to be more meandery than usual because I don't have a lesson plan this time, but I do have an outline. I was going to talk about Jordan Peterson for a bit, and then I was going to move on past there to more sexual dynamic stuff, and a little reference to Christopher Hitchens, which haven't talked about him in forever. Anyways, let me get this chat somewhere so I don't have to scan all the way to the side of the page in case you guys have something engaging and interesting to talk about, and I don't want to miss it. There she is. Okay. What are we at now? It's only like 2 minutes in. We can do the intro. Beyond that, nothing so insane that I've heard of. You guys will have to tell me because I've blocked the entire drama nerd school. So hopefully the blue cuck and his harem of druggy friends aren't doing some more crazy high school antics. And if so, they haven't at least dragged anybody that I like and enjoy and my friend into there. So hey, we can only hope. The man or the dog? The man. The dog doesn't really have many stories that are applicable to here, but I need more cooking episodes with West chest burritos or war chest burritos. Actually, it's not a bad idea. My girl's always been mad at the way I fold my burritos, and so she taught me the original Mexican way to do it. So I think I can give you guys like a proper Mexican burrito cooking episode. But like I said, with everything, it's once book 3 is done. Thank you so much, by the way. Thank you so much to the guys that are joining the Substack. The free and the paid subscribers. Either way, you guys are holding my feet to the fire and making sure when book 3 comes out, it's going to be the best book it can be when it comes to anything involving the red pill and dread and red pill within relationships. It's a monumental task. It's actually grown a lot more than I thought it would. So I'm just humbled. Anyways, I think we've got all the preamble out of the way. Let's do a little goofy joke and then I'm going to start with the thing. I've transformed. I'm charming. I'm good looking and in shape, but bored. I need something to do next. Another challenge to conquer. Please give it to me. So I don't know who has the same origin story as I do when it comes to Peterson. So I knew of him because I moved to Toronto back in... when did I move here? I was in Montreal. I moved there in 2011. Through the military stuff, and then I released in 2015, and I know it was within the year that I'd moved to Toronto, somewhere around 2015, 2016. I couldn't tell you exactly where. I'd have to go check the paperwork. It's not important. And so I'd moved here, and Peterson was like, I saw a thing on YouTube where he was talking to some college kids, and they were calling him a transphobe, and I was like, that's weird. And then I look and oh hell, he's an instructor down here. He's an university instructor. And read some of his stuff on his blog post, and he had a great thing on how to write an essay. It was back at the old, I don't think it's like it is anymore, like the jordanpeterson.com thing. And so I emailed him and I thanked him for this stuff and asked for some help, and he threw us a couple tips at me, and that was like my introduction to Jordan Peterson, and that was fine. I liked it. It was a teacher, he was engaging, and he had a stance on something that I thought was rather obvious, but getting run over the ringers for it seemed very strange. And then, like everybody, you can't, if you leave autoplay on YouTube for 3 videos, you'll end up at a Jordan Peterson. And it's the old stuff. It's where he would talk about his clinical psychology work, why it's hard to keep women in law and medicine, because once they hit like 27 to 32, they drop out, they want a baby, and then they're out of the profession for a year because guys just can't keep, they're trying to hire women and they can't. And so it's like the actual problem. It's not feminism, blah, 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 ranting stuff. And it was a breath of fresh air. Somebody who actually spoke from a position of some level of expertise on the issues of the day. And then there was a whole bunch of shadow and Jungian stuff, which never really appealed to me, but a lot of his psychology stuff, I'm like, geez. And at the time, I was, I think I was still on the Reddit at this time, talking with a bunch of guys, married red pill, been through my own thing. And it was just funny how much of the psychology world kind of lined up with the red pill world. So I found that little rabbit hole, and it was great. And then Trump happened. And I don't know what happened between like Rollo's daughter, and I kind of almost want to draw a correlation between the Venti and the Destiny thing to Rollo as like Peterson's daughter and the mainstream media is to Peterson. You know what I mean? And like Rollo had the one advantage that he has a lot of really good friends behind the scenes that want to see him do well. Peterson didn't really have that, which is annoying because like everybody like and this is my favorite part about Peterson that I love talking about. It's not his, like, people love talking about the content he does. I'm like, no, man, the meta is where it's at, the meta. And what does this have to do with you guys and your sexual relationships and that? It kind of has everything to do with it. Bear with me here. I'll get you there. Null, 20 euro super chat. Guten Tag from Germany. Glad to see you finally live. When is Carl coming back? I talked to him last week. No, it's not happening. Unless his new girl stabs him with a knife and takes half his money, you won't see Carl again, which is good. Anywho, so the meta, and it's, so what happened is that Peterson had a lot of girls in his life. He had his wife, he had his daughter, bunch of other people, whatever. He starts getting stressed out from this, because let's face it, if you're just like a normal, he's not media savvy at all. Rollo, he's media savvy now, but when he first started, he wasn't media savvy either, and so you get a bunch of these people that are just using like media attacks constantly. And I'm telling you, it's that Damocles sword. It puts pressure on you. Now you can map this to whatever pressure situation you have at your work. Maybe everybody at work, they're spreading some gossip. It bothers you, or your church is having a thing. And, oh my God, he said he hates women and the church is going out. Like everybody has some amount of social pressure that comes and hits them. And how you deal with it makes a huge difference. And this is where it's coming to the part that affects you. So with Peterson's one, he played by the rules. And I know we always talk about if you guys have never heard of it, it's called the blue-pilled Disney fantasy. And it's in a society-wide gaslighting. If you want to see more on that, there's a great, and I haven't referenced him in forever, there's a great post by probably the first red-pilled guy that I found out about, Keone Galt. He goes by Hawaiian Libertarian. And I know Rollo and I have these little disagreements. He talks about how, well, technically they were talking about red pill in 2003, but I would argue this is probably the first, and I'll put it in chat. It's the first red-pilled post ever. First red-pilled piece of content that wasn't pickup, that wasn't MGTOW, that wasn't men's rights. It was red pill. And it was Tuesday, September 15th, 2009, in his post, Game is Red Pill. So when you talk about the Disney fantasy, it's that. It's societal crutches. So what did Peterson do? He went to a doctor, and the doctor prescribed him Benzies, which I'd have to look those up. I'm pretty sure they're like a variation of methamphetamine. In fact, I'm probably going to look that up right now. Benzodiazepine, a class of depressant drugs whose core structure is the fusion of blah, blah, blah. Let me just... Yeah, there it is. Methamphetamine variant. Fair enough. If there's any chemist in the thing here, don't get me. So he did what he was supposed to do. He went to a doctor. He went to an authority. He said, hello, Mr. Authority. I have the entire media industrial complex in 3 countries coming after me. It's causing me a lot of stress. My wife has cancer. What do I do? His daughter's like, eat meat. His wife is like, I'm a little busy here. And so the doctor gave him pills. The doctor gave him meth. And so he was taking that. And then the problem is it's a very addictive drug. I mean, it was at least addictive to him. And so he gets to the point that he's like a pill popping monster. And it's like, oh, he always likes talking about be a good man, 15 rules for life. And this is why I'm like, ignore the content. He talked about 15 rules for life. How many of those rules do you think he broke on his own and caused him problems, right? It's very easy to give advice. It's very hard to walk the path. And so what happens after that? Well, after that, his family looks at him like, oh my God, you're not doing so well. We should probably fix this. They talk to the doctors here. I don't even know if they talk to the doctors here. My guess, since they had to go to that Russian clinic for the detox, is probably this was during Michaela's, and this is all speculation, but I'm drawing a story here for you. I'm drawing a story. So focus on that part. Don't focus on the detail is wrong. Shut up. So they get him down to Russia during his daughter's whole, I want to go to Russia and find me a nice Russian man phase. Tate. And he does all this stuff. He's ended up and for like a year, it was like watching a shadow of a man. It was like Weekend at Bernie's. And then his daughter was like, I need a social media career and just to fuck up my life. And she was riding the coattails hard. In fact, I'm positive she still runs his Twitter account because when you, like, guaranteed, he's like, I am not going anywhere near social media. Do you have any idea how much pain that caused me? And his daughter's like, I'll take it over, Dad. I love you. He goes, sure. And she's out there just talking shit. And he's like, oh, what the hell, man? I got to stop swearing. If I can keep the ads on this, by the way, it'll be a good thing. I did some math yesterday on the Diablo stream with Dave and the T-Rex guys. Turns out I am like spending a lot of money to be authentic. So yeah. This is what happens when, as a guy, you're out there with nobody to back you. Nobody was really looking out for him. Not really. Everybody thought this is a giant lightning rod of fame and I'm going to jump on it. Dave Rubin jumped on it, and I'm not saying Dave did anything wrong. Dave didn't do anything technically. He was just like, let's get together, let's do business. It is what it is. His daughter was like, I'm going to use you for fame. I don't know much about his wife, and thankfully he hasn't been parading her around as like F trophies for clout. But you know what I mean? Like, everybody was just taking a piece out of him, and he had missed the most basic red pill advice, is don't let yourself be taken for granted. That is essentially what dread is. Dread is the deliberate process of men learning not to be taken for granted. And all the stuff inside of there always serves that one goal. It's something that keeps you anchored. Should I go work out? Well, you know, weak guys get taken for granted. Maybe you should. Well, should I tell my wife to go pound sand? Well, is she taking you for granted? Well, maybe you should. You know, should I leave my family and go date a 20-year-old prostitute? It's like, well, sounds like you're going to get taken for granted. Maybe you shouldn't. Maybe you shouldn't. DIY on him. Caught this live. What's it like to be in the Cool Kids Club? I wouldn't know. The Cool Kids Club right now is talking about Logan Paul and his girlfriend. They're talking gossip. So that's one side of things. And you see him now. Like, right now, he's doing okay. I'm not saying he's like, oh, his life is ruined. He can bounce back. And there's kind of a lesson in there, too. Most guys that I have talked to in the red pill that I respect, or at least acknowledge that they've paid their dues, have some kind of, I don't even want to say trauma, because I don't want to buy into that whole victim narrative thing, but things have gone downhill to an extreme event, at least in modern society. Like, nobody gets stabbed. Well, I guess Carl got stabbed. But you know what I mean? Everybody has some measure of pain. And it's the guys that bounce back, they understand the red pill, they get a little more hardened, a little more jaded. You know, they lose a little bit of that childhood love for, oh, my wife is the baddest unicorn. And now it's like, that's my old lady. Yeah, who among us hasn't been stabbed? Exactly. But the problem is then, like, where do you go from there? Because when a guy's at his lowest, nobody's willing to help. Everybody kind of distances themselves. If you don't believe me on that, just ask the Steven Crowder guy. What happened when his wife put him on blast? All of a sudden, everybody who's ever known him is like, by the way, he made me fetch him a burrito one day. It's horrible. So now let's look at Rollo on the other hand. Rollo was this similar kind of situation. You know, he's hit I don't know if it's the top of his fame, but for the sake of argument, let's just parallel it to Peterson, right? He's doing his thing. He was known for his books, the red pill stuff, and then starts getting into the celebrity type things of it. Ends up with some goofy people that make a lot of noise. And don't get me wrong, that's the one thing that I think is really making Rollo more media savvy. You know the whole any attention is good attention. Well, it's not really true. What that means is if you're getting like if people are learning your name in a larger sphere of people, that's always a good thing because source amnesia will make them forget why they knew of your name, but they know your name. The problem though with that is that you assume any attention is good attention. It's not true. What they mean is negative attention is good attention. Any attention is different because there's like, and Hotep Jesus, I got to give him credit for this. He's fucking brilliant when it comes to marketing. And I asked, how the hell did you get onto Fox? You went from getting a free Starbucks to being on Fox, Gottfield and Friends. What's the guy's name? The right-wing Bill Maher. I don't remember his name. Which I should, because it sounds like he has my sense of humor where he just rants into the microphone like a dick. Anywho. And he goes, yeah, you just don't have to, you can just skip the middleman. And that's what he kind of fell into with that whole high school drama thing with all the people you recognize from the last election cycle. It's like teenage drama stuff, and it's the middle ground. And he got caught up into that, and there was a whole lot of noise being made by a very small group of people. And then you take that any attention is good attention, and it can, it was causing problems. But the one thing that Rollo has that's better than what Peterson had is he had a bunch of people that were actually looking out for him. Like that's the one great, like I'm not just talking about he saved my life reading his books back in the day. I know, I mean like call him up on the phone like, bro, this ain't it. And none of those people needed anything from him. There's no Dave Rubens here. Like nobody here is trying to think, how can I, of that small group, it's like nobody can think about how do I monetize this situation for him? I'm like, no, fuck that. You don't need that. You don't need this shit. And so for him, largely, it's like, you know what? Good point. So before it gets to diazepams or anything like that, he's like, I don't need this. I don't need this. And this is the point I want to get for you guys here. And this is the whole Peterson arc. Understand how important it is to compartmentalize what you can expect from people. You thought I was going to say about, well, you got to make a good tribe of friends and blah, blah, blah. No. Don't do that. I'm telling you not to do that. The reason you don't want to do that is because if you go out specifically looking for a tribe of like-minded men, you are putting a big target on your back saying you're a mark. You're a mark. You know who's not gonna fill that void? Unscrupulous marketers. Do you know who's selling you on that? The liminal order. Jack Murphy. Hey, you guys need to get together. We're talking about smart, political, masculine stuff. And it's like, yeah. Meanwhile, he's like, dude, I'm gonna do Ambien, go to bed, and then, have my girlfriend get plowed in the morning. Is that very limitable? I don't think so. I know I'm not pronouncing it right. I don't care. Or what's the other one? Lost young boys need to find mentors and blah, blah. You know what they found? Andrew fucking Tate. Hey, I'm going to milk all the money out of these guys. He was literally taking them out to dinner and charging them like $4,000 for the privilege. And then when one guy would like accidentally use the salad fork on the main entree, he'd have his old buddy Dino Bravo, whatever the fuck his name was. And I need you to shake them down for money. You're an ex-con. So it's just sending a bunch of kids into the piranha tank, right? So this is why you can't be looking for like-minded men. All you're going to find is people taking advantage of that. It's a giant insecurity. Hell, I would argue the word masculinity itself is a marketing buzzword. Do a Google search, and I know this is pretty shitty, but it makes a point. Do a little Google trend search for masculinity, and you'll see nothing popped up till like 2014. Like, it's funny how we talk about the knights and the samurai and their masculine whatevers, and meanwhile, like, masculinity didn't even start as a term until they started selling bathwater for it. So yeah, that's the point, is you got to compartmentalize what you can expect from people. And if it's, I almost want to hit the power with my foot. That's not going to be good. So if you're at work, you expect, work camaraderie. You don't expect, hey, can I get the director to help me move next weekend? Probably not. Probably not. The PTA, can you expect them to help you with your business? Probably not. And your wife, can you expect her to be your therapist? Probably not. Like, I was amazed. My girl, she's like, hey, I want to put on my show. And I'm like, whatever, go for it. I'll just play a little like Project Zomboid on the laptop and pick up the red pill lessons by osmosis. I was like, oh my God, this thing is horrible. I'll tell you a story about this in a second.
Hey, brother, who do you think is the funniest member of Rule Zero Squad? Now, what's your favorite comment joke of theirs? I think Ryan brings good laughs. He does. Ryan is like British humor. It's like Monty Python. And people are like, if you get it, you laugh your ass off. If you don't get it, you're like...
Fuck Ryan Stone.
People just don't get his humor. Who's the funniest one on there? You mean besides John Fitch? I think John Fitch is the funniest member of Rule Zero, but he's unintentionally funny. With the robot dogs.
Seeing this robot dog in real life was pretty surreal and terrifying.
And Cappy's pretty funny. He can be pretty funny too. Who's the funniest member?
And I hate doing this. Because I remember Donovan Sharp was, and it was ridiculous. He would be watching like whatever reality TV shit and like, here, guys, let's do a watch party for TV drama and tell me all the red pill things on it. And I laughed at that. I thought it was ridiculous. And then I saw this one, and it's not, I don't even care about the drama. There's this thing, what's the one she's calling? Ultimatum. Basically, somebody wants to marry somebody, they don't want to, and so they put them on a national TV to embarrass them in front of everybody. Best zombie game, period. I agree. And it wasn't, and I was watching this, and I know it's reality TV. All that stuff is scripted, right? The producers like tell them what they want them to say. I need you guys to talk about this. They don't give them like scripts per se, but they do tell them what they want from them. And everybody loves fame and loves being embarrassed by it, so whatever. But the editor really kind of changes everything to add the emotional weight, and they throw some soundtracks in there of like soulful, imaginative music. And that was the part that got to me. The marketers, the creatives. They know the themes that resonate with people, right? And like, who's watching this Netflix series? You know, chicks in their 30s to 40s. Probably, you know, somewhat developed, but a little insecure about things. So they need to watch some Jerry Springer nonsense. Ask me if this story sounds familiar. And so what do? They put a type A and a type B or cluster B personality together, like some raging narcissist mixed with a passive emotional cripple. And I was watching this and I'm like, dude, they're making this guy cry in front of his girlfriend because his mom never hugged him enough. And I was like, oh my God. And I was like, imagine somebody trying to talk about the lessons from this. Oh, well, that means you're not supposed to cry in front. You're like, dude, it's fiction. They all made this stuff up. And yes, it resonates, but here's the point. Creative people are manipulating women so easily. I'm going to put an image of a girl who wants to get married and a guy who's dragging his feet, then have her meet the most handsome guy on earth. But throughout all of this, find out she actually loves her real man. And then they get together and nothing's ever changed. It's almost like a dystopic horror, but it's cosmic horror. And I was just like, that's amazing. Like there's multiple, but in this case, there's a guy on that cast who's like, I am really good at getting the attention and milking it of the 35 to 45-year-old female single demographic. They're the ones that are buying everything. They're the ones that are going into debt. They are the consumer cash cow. They're the golden egg. The goose that laid the golden egg, and the golden egg is merch. And like, how are they so good at this stuff? They're not doctors. They're not psychologists. They're just dudes working at a TV station or a studio or whatever. And I realized like, there is a lot of people who have kind of given up on that authoritative thing, right? Like doctors, psychologists, you know, I have a degree from a thing that's got a crest and a building in Seattle. Oh, well, fuck, never mind then. I didn't realize tablets on the Mont. But there's a lot of people that, and all you have to do is just watch and keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes open. What are people doing? They're manipulating women. You know why? Because women spend money. Women always spent money. Why is there no masculine messages on TV? It's because men don't spend money. Men don't spend shit. Think about it this way. How often, I bet you anything, at least one of you guys this week has gone to the store and thought about buying something and then bought something that was marginally cheaper that required a little bit of work to get it where you want it. Guaranteed. And you're not even broke. You're not even broke. You're not poor. You earned enough. It were like, you would have lost more time than your time is worth on doing this silly little task. In fact, I know Greenlight probably did. It seems like what he did. Every time. You know why? It's because guys are horrible to sell to. And for those of you in the audience that are autistic, apparently marketing doesn't work in autists because they don't understand anything but like literal messaging. Yeah, never forget Allie and her $500 Fortnite skins. Well, I didn't know about that. I didn't know she plays Fortnite. The music on those TikTok red pill clips is annoying. Okay. I know I tried TikTok. I don't think it's for me. I did. I really don't. So if you're on there looking at me, like, thanks for joining the experiment. It's not working. So what does that mean for you? Well, that means for you, you've got everybody's trying to manipulate every woman on earth, including your wife. So you have to be a force for good. Well, a force for self-interest, but a force for good. And part of that comes with, like, you have to be in a position of authority, a dominant position, right? Everybody's like, what, I have to tell her what to do all the time? It's like, dude, it just goes to show you how out of touch people are when you talk about being the dominant one in the relationship and everybody immediately assumes like you're barking orders to an invalid. Like, really? Yeah, no, really. It's not, I mean, it's simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. It's like boundaries. You know, boundaries where boundaries are what you won't put up with, what you will and won't put up with, right? If it's something like, this is untenable for me, that's a hard boundary. And the only way you can enforce that is through your attention, through your affection, and your commitment. And the only way that those three things have any teeth to them is if you have an SMV, sexual market value, they call it. It's a catch-all term just for being more attractive, high value, whatever. Throw buzzwords in there. You know what I mean. A reason that she would want you versus not wanting you. You get it? And so that's how boundaries get enforced. Now, it's the same thing for being the dominant presence. If you got a girl, it's like, oh, I want a Peloton because I saw the commercial. It's like, you don't need a Peloton. Let's go for a run. Now, if you're just some like, I'm afraid of being alone and I really want a baby and this guy will commit to me. If you're that guy, she's going to bitch and moan and argue and call you controlling until she gets a Peloton. But if you're that guy that's like, I don't need this. I'm sticking around because you're good for me. But if you're not good for me, I'll probably find somewhere else. Now, I'm not saying you say that, obviously. I'm saying that's the dynamic. Then yeah, girls will be more likely to go, yeah, you're right. The Peloton thing is kind of weird. And they won't say it right away. It's an old post. I've never gone back to it, and I really should. I called it the 8-hour rule. And I was noticing this way back in the start of my thing. Every time a girl and I, like, the girl would say something and I'd say no, and like no was like the worst thing you could say, and we'd have a big fight. Well, not big fight, but a sort of fight. And I was like, I don't get it, man. It's like, I'm right. I know I'm right, and she knows I'm right, but she's still fighting me on this. And then we go to sleep. And then the next morning we'd wake up and she'd tell me some revelation she had, which was basically what we were arguing about anyway. And I realized, like, why am I fighting so hard? It's because of ego. Girls don't like the idea of being controlled at all. They will fight it tooth and nail, even if it's for their best interests, right? Like the Britney Spears thing. But you give it some space. You allow people to save face, and the girl gets a night's sleep. And then in the morning, she'll, on her own, come to the exact conclusion you had talked about before, assuming what you're saying is useful. I always have to preface this stuff with, you can't be a bag of shit and have any of this work. Because girls aren't stupid. They got experience. And if you're just dumb, then yeah, they're not going to listen even if they do find you attractive. I don't know what to tell you. It's not about competence, yeah? And so that was it. You normally just say your piece. Trust in the value you've created for yourself and the worth you are to the other person. Let them have a night's sleep to think it over, and then they'll come around. And that's a great thing, because and here's the worst part is, and it's not worst for me, it's not worst for you, it's worst for a person who doesn't know any better. Because you're going to see those kind of guys remarkably easy. Tell their wife something that's not good for them, they decide not to do it. Awesome. As opposed to the other guy whose wife fights him every way. And this is why you see so much conflicting, weird advice about relationships and dating, right? Like you'll see this one guy is like, yeah, for women, just communicate, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, maybe. If you're that top tier option, sometimes you just saying something is enough for her to go, yeah, sounds good. If you're not that guy and she fights you every step of the way, this guy sounds delusional, like he's longhoused. But it's like, it's not that. The only question is, how self-aware is the guy that his value, his wife's life cycle, like where she is in the epiphany phase or whatever, all that stuff kind of factors into something easy, saying, hey, babe, maybe you don't need to eat a pizza today. And she's like, yeah, you're right. And that's where most of the internet fights come from, at least the ones where the people understand each other's position. And I do it. It's where I put my just draw the fucking owl thing, you know? I like those. But for the most part, yeah, that's the issue. And this is one thing I've always had issue with, because the way my life's going, I could easily be one of those guys that just tells you to draw the fucking owl. That's a reference to an old pickup thing where guys are just like, oh, just talk to girls, man. That's all you got to do. Well, if you've never talked to a girl before and you don't know what to say and you don't have an interesting life and you've never slept around very much, you have no idea what to do. Like, what's the roadmap? What's the path? And that's kind of one of those things you have to do. Like, you have to start not knowing anything. And then as you go through, you learn all the intricacies of everything that starts, like starting a marriage, continuing a marriage, ending a marriage, having a relationship. Like, there's like a lot of deliberate, systematic, tools that go into all this stuff. And then once you're there, you kind of get to forget everything again because you've internalized it well enough that you just kind of run on instinct again. But those guys at the end, they don't remember all these steps here being important because to them, they're not. But they don't have that empathy to understand, oh yeah, unless they were in that situation. Because some guys just naturally aren't in that situation. They've never been in the situation. So they're, what are you talking about? You don't have to do negging and you don't have to dread. And this is all ridiculous stuff. Just talk to your wife. And it's like, yeah, eventually. You don't have to think about your left pedal and your right pedal and which way to hold the handlebars. You just ride your bike, bro. It's like, that's great. But if you're 4 and you've never ridden a bike before, it's going to seem a little bit awkward. Yeah, and strippers got a good point too in here. That can work outside the dynamic. I have that in co-parenting. I say frequently, I don't care what anybody else does. I'm raising my kids, not everyone else's. This stuff matters, like outside of just having sex and being in a relationship or not, right? He's right. When in the eventual situation where you and the mother of your children separate for whatever reason, you kind of still have to play that role as the parental figure with the added difficulty in that you don't get to control anything. Like, you're not in the house. She can decide to ignore everything you've ever said and do whatever she wants to do. A lot of guys, that's one of their big problems when it comes to divorced and parenting, is they're like, oh, I don't want my ex-wife to date like a druggie, or I don't want her to bring dudes around the house. And I don't want this and I don't want that. It's like, bro, you have no say in that matter. You can influence, you can suggest. And if you got, again, if that's your boundary, you can pull your attention, pull your affection, pull your commitment, but without like an SMV. But what do you mean? She divorced me. It's like, even if she divorced you, you having sexual market value still matters. Women still respond to it, even if it is your stupid ex-wife, right? I'm not saying they're not as Machiavellian about it, but they still do. Yeah, it was one of those things. I remember Jack and I were arguing about that, and that's how he referred to it. He said he referred to himself as borderline autistic, and he had to learn to be a human being by A/B testing the human condition. It was during one, like, we had a fight about this, which was interesting. It's going to be a mids watch coming up. Jack 10 of Hearts. If I say Jack Napier Jack, I'm talking about Dutch Boy. If I just say Jack or Jack 10, yeah, it's Jack 10 of Hearts. And it was interesting, and I think that was probably one of the best things that happened for all of this. And this is kind of why I have that more autistic take on Peterson, where I'm just talking about the meta. Yeah, it's literally, okay, why are they doing it this way? And yeah, you're like, oh man, you're missing all the nuances of human this and human that. That may be true. But they give you an insight and a method of looking at things, like a deliberate, systematic way of looking at things that you just don't get when you follow somebody who's like naturally following into it. So that was nice. What does this have to do with women? The title of your thing that you did here? Well, that's the point, is that she can't be everything to you. This is where this is where it's all going to. She can't be everything to you. That stupid show I was watching, the guy was like talking to his fiance like it was his therapist. Another one's talking to her like a best friend. Another one's talking like he's her gay best friend. And it was like so weird. Because the girls are on camera, so they can't look unattracted. But I'm like, once the guy starts crying in front of her, and you could just tell she's like, she didn't know what to do, so she started crying too. And I was like, I don't know about you, but I'm not into Japanese porn enough where I want to see a girl crying in front of me like that. It's like, it's not my thing. But you already know off camera they probably didn't get together. My girl will always do that where she looks up afterwards and is like, oh yeah, they broke up. I'm like, nobody ever stays together after this stuff. They're just ruining relationships. And so I see it all the time. Guys keep trying to make their girls their everything and their all things. And it's just ridiculous. Like, imagine that. We all kind of admit that the sexes are different. Men and women are different. And a lot of guys assume that means in all the things that matter, men are better than women. And I'm not here to argue that. I don't really care. But it's just funny when you understand there are differences. And then all the things that you need as a man, you're just going to assume the girl can handle it. Hey, I need somebody to act like that motherly, unconditional love role. Do you want to handle that, babe? Hey, I need somebody to be that's the sex kitten that handles my carnal desires. You want to be that, babe? Hey, I need a best friend to go drinking with. Do you want to be there, babe? Yeah, I need somebody else to play Warhammer with. I need somebody who's good at the Tyranids. Do you mind picking up the slack on that, babe? Start painting some figs with me? Imagine being the girl in this. She's like, dude, like, what else do you want from me? I already took out the trash. I already fucked you. I already raised the kids. You want to be your mom and your therapist and your banker? I don't know. I don't know if I can handle all this. It's like, girls don't want that. Girls, if anything, the girl fantasy is to be taken care of by a guy and never have to worry about anything because he staves off all the anxiety. That's the ideal for girls. And meanwhile, you're dumping all this shit on her back, and then you wonder why you have such a dysfunctional relationship. Well, maybe it's not the relationship that's dysfunctional. Maybe it's you're dysfunctional. Well, the girls are dysfunctional too. Well, they're girls. What did you expect? Of course they're dysfunctional. They're emotional. They bleed every month. They got tits. Like, what did you think was going to happen? Yeah, almost like we unintentionally make our wife, girlfriend, our own personal god. Oh, dude, you nailed it, Ian. You've absolutely nailed it. It's the deification of women. They used to call it putting her on a pedestal, but I don't think that does it service. I think it's a deification. I think it's the woman of Willendorf. And there's no way to talk a guy out of it. Like, imagine this is the equivalent of like an edgy 2010 atheist trying to talk somebody out of the church. It's like, you're never going to do it, bro. Never. So what can you do? I just say open mockery, let them learn the hard way. Most guys won't. Most guys will still go through the divorce and think they did something wrong. But I mean, if somebody really thinks their life is going well and they refuse to change, do you really think anything you say is going to change that? Not really. And then my question is, why are you so invested in that guy that you want to save him more than he wants to save himself? If I said that to a girl, it's like, oh yeah, she's a crackhead, you can save her. You'd have laughed in my face. But I'm telling you about, oh yeah, but this bro, you could talk him out of it. Bro, you've just gone from simping for women to simping for men. I don't know what to tell you. Marty's in the chat. Yeah, women want the authority of an adult and the responsibility of a child. You just have to navigate that. You absolutely do. And that's the beauty. And that's navigate, I think, is the key word. If there's anything you want to attach to the red pill, it's the word navigate. Because way too many people think it's about changing or damaging or affecting or saving or all these other verbs. No, navigating. That's it. No red pill person. I don't even want to call them thought leaders, but I'll just call them dudes. No red pill dude has ever tried to change a system. It's never been about that until you got to YouTube. Then all of a sudden everybody's like, oh, we can fix these. Like, fuck off. No, now the only thing you can hope for is to navigate what's already here. Now, granted, we use a lot of dystopic language, which I think is it plays to the insecurity in a good way. Everybody's like, oh, the decline of the West is here. Yeah, it's a very big decline. It's like production has never been higher. Money has never been higher. Any metric, life expectancy, the amount of sex you can have in your life, the ability to climb the social ladder, like any metric you want to use, everything is going better. In fact, it's going so good that we can just actively sabotage the system and it still refuses to die. Right? I think they found out I'm blackmailing you to be a mod. Yeah, we're living like kings. And what are we doing? We're complaining about it. You know why we're complaining about it? Because we have the luxury time to complain about it. And I'm not calling us whiners or anything like that. It's not that at all. It's catastrophic successes. It's just how we're built. If human beings were built to be content, we never would have made donuts. So when you're talking to a guy, you got to kind of meet him at his level. You can't just start saying, dude, life is the greatest it's ever been. Cheer up, bucko, and just start fucking some. Like, you can't say that because he's like, yeah, get out of here, you crazy bastard. No, you got to say that the West is in decline and feminism has taken over and this is bad and this is bad. But you can navigate it. And everybody's like, oh, is it true? Who cares? But if you frame it that way, guys start making better decisions. So good enough. There's maybe the real cyberpunk dystopia was the friends we made along the way, you know? The friends we made along the way. So yeah, navigate. Well, how do you navigate things? Well, as a single guy, this is how you navigate it. Teaching guys about the alpha and the beta dichotomy between what women are looking for, the lover and the provider, in the same way that women have the Madonna and the whore, and have the lover and the provider. And it's Here's all the reasons that the provider's been taken care of by some other guy that doesn't have to give her anything. Here's government, here's police, here's friends, here's family, there's social media, there's marketing. All of her provider stuff's taken care of. So were you guys trying to do all this provider stuff? You're really just wasting your time. Here's a bunch of the lover stuff. Well, that's the stuff that criminals do. Well, criminals do that along with committing crimes, yes, but, the Austrian painter drank water. Does that mean you're not supposed to drink water? The Austrian painter was a vegetarian. Does that mean you're not going to eat vegetables? It's like, sometimes bad people do mundane things, and you can't hold that against the mundane things. You just can't. But yeah, be the lover. And again, this is where you see, like, if somebody actually wants to take that success into his own hands, he'll do stuff. It'll be awesome. If you get a guy who doesn't want to do that, he just wants to be told it's everybody else's fault and you're perfect the way you are, they'll fight you on that. They'll fight you on that being the lover. Well, degeneracy and blah, blah, blah. And they'll make up all these excuses. And the history of samurai have shown that providers are... It's like, how's that working out, bro? And this is why, like, for me, I get it. Sometimes it's nice to articulate the things that I'm working on, and having a discussion about this with somebody who does not care is a good way to do that. But outside of doing this for a living, I don't see why anybody would give these guys time of day. The best you can hope for is use them for mockery. If you ever see a guy talking that nonsense on any social media platform or Facebook or whatever, use him, carry his head on a pike around your Facebook crowd for clout. Because there is nothing better at rabble rousing and building up tribes than showing them the outgroup. Look at this unattractive loser. Isn't this hilarious, ladies? And they'll laugh and you'll laugh and you guys, oh, that poor guy. Anyways, back to the fun stuff. Yeah, stop trying to save people. People don't want to be saved. People don't even need to be saved. There's nothing to be saved from. What do you want to be saved from? The affluence of being able to sit in your room all day, every day, the mother's basement analogy. It's like, dude, you're living like, what's the guy's name? The barrel Greek guy, Diogenes. I always pronounce these ones wrong. Barrel. Diogenes. I think that's how it's pronounced. He was that dude that had nothing, didn't do anything, didn't shower, lived in a barrel, and told the King Alexander's like, get out of my sunlight, asshole. And yeah, you've got people now. That's literally a life path for people. There's kids, and I say the word kid loosely here, 32 years old, no real job prospects, living in a one-bedroom apartment or still with his parents, shit like that. And I know we love to blame it on the economy. And in Canada, in fairness, Canada's kind of got a point. Our housing market is like, it's 4 times worse than America's ever was, which is crazy because we have so much more land and so many less people. And we even do a taxes on the Chinese influence. Yeah, Dark Knight Dev, one heartfelt FU super chat. Red Pill is about being actionable. If they're talking about relationships or datings and use the word should, they're dead wrong and autistic. Oh, absolutely. Should. Worst word in the English language. Should is implying a moral prerogative. It's implying a categorical imperative. You shall. It's like a tablet on the mont. It's ridiculous. Because, like, imagine some nobody with a statue avatar on Twitter telling you what you need to value in life. It's like, I'll take it from here, bro. Like, the ego on that. And I get it. They don't even think they think they're doing that. They're thinking, I'm telling you guys the way it should be. What they're actually saying is, I'm hyper insecure about this shit and terrified. Therefore, if I preach it, it'll stick around. Literally the secret. If you say it, they will come. Well, Cappy's not Dio, or did I pronounce it wrong already? I'm going to call him Dio. Cappy is not Dio. Dio didn't do anything. Cappy works his ass off. Cappy, if anything, he's like a frontiersman. He went west. He went west, manifest destiny. I know it doesn't sound as cool. Yeah, true alpha, he jerked off in the streets. No, not Dionysus, not the god of wine. It's the guy who, what is he known for? Greek philosopher, founder of cynicism. He just lived in a barrel. I don't know, he was lazy. It doesn't seem like he was really known for anything other than thinking. Yeah, exactly. Diogenes, I think. I had it right. Oh, thank God. I got something right. Strike a blow for the alpha males. Yeah, so there's guys that can do that. And the best part is they don't die. They don't die. They don't starve. A lot of them are overweight. Imagine that, being absolutely useless. Useless. And you're fat. Talk about incentives, huh? Well, he's not fat 'cause he's not eating healthy. Well, what's the matter? His lifespan is going to go from 96 to 94 because we're going to keep him alive with medication. It's like, they don't die, Ojanines. So why would you want to save this guy? This guy's living like a pig in shit. And you know what? The one thing about being that kind of guy is you're bored. Soccer moms and unattractive guys are bored. Oh, he was the honest man guy. Okay, yeah. Looked for the one honest man. Fair enough. Where was I going with this one? Can't fight in a war if you're too fat. Yeah, a war's not their concern. Dude, that's the other thing. I am sick and tired of these stupid war hawk, chicken hawk types sitting here talking about the military makes men. Bro, military doesn't make men. The military accelerates men. The hell does he mean by that? I have seen the biggest simps, the biggest like cucks type person ever was in the military. Monahan, I still remember him. He had married this fat chick with like 5 kids by 3 dads. He was a fat, ugly piece of shit himself too, and kind of stupid. But that's what he married and did it one day after he got back from a sale, came back, instant family. Used to call them Insta families. John Smith, $5 1 cent super chat. Appreciate it very much, sir. I think your definition of dread needs to be repeated often. Well, I'll put the final word on it soon. I guarantee. I like it, though. We got Nick and Rob in the chat. It's kind of stepping up my game where I have to stop effing around and make sure I deliver you guys good content. Otherwise, they'll make fun of me afterwards. Monahan. So he would go out on sales, and supposedly because, it's too many kids to handle, at least one of the exes, one of the baby daddies, moved into his basement suite. And so he'd be out on sales. Meanwhile, his ex-wife is home with 1 or 2 baby daddies and 5 kids. He has no kids of his own. And I remember we were having a couple wets in the junior ranks mess, and one of his coworkers was talking about, like, dude, he's fucked. Like, what do you mean? It's like he's writing suicide notes on the boxes before he throws them in recycling. And I was like, Jesus. And next day, we're out there on the flight deck. We had to do some flag hoist stuff, and they were doing, I think it was because of a RAS, actually. Well, anyways, whatever it was, I was up there, and he was a supply tech, and the supply techs were one deck over, and we're sitting up there staring at him, and I hear the girls, the clerks, just ripping into him. Look at that ugly piece of shit. And they were just, like, dumping all over him, and I'm like, dude, this guy is this close to Canadian healthcare, and these girls are just savage. It was like, holy shit. It's one of those things that got me on that one. So yeah, look at, and the point of this is, the military doesn't make you into a man. If you're a man, you'll be made into that man faster. But if you're the Monahan, no, man, you're not going to be into a man. You're just going to F up your life way faster. He was like 25, 5 kids, 1 wife, cucked family, ex-husband in the thing, 25 years old. Had he done this the hard way, he would have been like 46 before he got to this level of like, life is messed up. Life is messed up. Yeah, watching military relationships is like going to the zoo. Oh, and don't get me wrong. I think psychologists and psychiatrists would do far better by being required for 5 years of military service than they ever would on going to school. Yeah, piece of shit accelerator. Well, I mean, if there's good guys, they become really good guys. So it's an accelerator either way. It just amplifies. It's a ×4 multiplier for whatever, if you want to use some gaming terms. That still bothers me to this day to think about that guy. I don't know what he's up to. He's probably still in the military. He's got to be on his 20 years by now. Ugh. Maybe I'll ask. I'm going to go see some buddies. My first full retirement buddy is retiring in October, and I'm heading down to the West Coast to go see him. Maybe I'll ask about some of this stuff. Report back to you the findings. I know, it's just weird. My buddy, though, one I sailed with, was telling me about this, too, and he kind of mentioned it off. It was just offhand. He goes, isn't it amazing? Like, all of our friends are awesome. Because, like, as we kind of move, everybody's drifted apart. We all live across the country now. Now it's at the point, if you want to have a beer with a buddy, you got to take a flight. And I'm not complaining. I think it's great. Because every time we meet other people, nobody ever lives up to that standard. So it's an interesting thing. So what's this have to do with you? Is it just Ryan ranting about his life and the what ifs? No, it's not. It's all about you. There is no savior. There is no one thing that can fix it all. That's marketing jargon. Marketing loves to say there's one solution. Do you know who wants the simple one-dimensional solution? Marketers and politicians. And I'd argue I'm saying the exact same thing here. Because what are politicians but marketers for government spending? It's really it. It's really it. He's probably an advisor to Trudeau. Yeah. Oh yeah, they planned that. Well, the military is invested in the TradCon fantasy. They absolutely want it. Because they found out for retention, the one thing that'll keep a guy in the military is a kid. Soon as a guy has a kid, he refuses to leave the military because that's a safe, secure job and he's got to raise the kids right. And if he does that, there's the risk that they won't have food on the table. Oh, dude, they tap into that heavily. That's why, if you ever wondered why sailors, they're always talking about go bang broads, go do this, because they want you to knock one of them chicks up. They give two shits. Excuse me. Yeah, manipulation everywhere. So there, guys will latch onto it. It's no different than Tate and his stupid war room of masculine excellence, man. The military wants you to knock up a chick and stick around for 20 years and then treat you like garbage. And that's why I say it's an amplifier, because the guys who get sucked into that, the ones that are easily manipulated, the ones that have the insecurities, they get sucked right into that funnel. And the ones that aren't, the ones that are smart, they learn how to navigate hostile environments like that and come out of it unscathed on the other side. Like I said, for most of my friends now, like I'm going to find out how the ones that are still in the military have been doing, but most of them moved on, 6-figure salaries, great things. It's awesome. It's great to see. I'm absolutely excited to see it. So as a guy, you have to understand that it's just nothing really cares about you. The world's indifferent. And it's not even, well, they're out to get, no, nobody's out to get you. That's that's your ego talking to you. If everybody was out to get you, that still makes you the main character, even if you are the villain. It's not even that. It's probably one of the, and I got to get her back on the podcast, man. Danny California. Do you guys remember her? She's still on Twitter doing her thing. At least I actually haven't seen her in a while. She maybe got a new boyfriend now. But anyways, had her on the podcast, and she knew those women that like chew men out and spit them out, or chew men up and spit them out. And the one thing she said that was absolutely wonderful, and I wish more guys had listened to it, was she goes, yeah, like none of these girls were bad people. They weren't trying to screw these guys over, but the guys just put their neck out too much as they're ice skating by and then wonder why they got cut across the neck. It's like, hey, sorry, you got in the way. And that was literally it. All this pain that guys were getting caused wasn't because anybody was out to get them. They were just in the way of somebody else doing something, and they weren't paying attention. They weren't reading the landscape. It's the most annoying thing ever. Because it's like, it should be simple. Like a lot of you guys, some of you guys are single, but for like married guys, kids, families, marriages, common law relationships, whatever. You just want a nice, simple life. It'll be fun. It'll be maybe adventure, excitement. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying some kind of monogamous relationship with expectation of trust, expectation that to make things better over time, you know, it's like interest, more interest as you get through there longer, compounding. And you just want to go through that without too much pain. And if there is pain, to have the skills to be able to bounce back from it fairly quickly. That's literally it. It's just variations on that theme. I just think it sucks too when you're that guy. You're that guy and then you're like, well, there's this great book, The Rational Male. And then you come out and you see all these 33 Secrets and John something lifestyle and all these retards and bitching about, who was that one chick? The black chick that was like going on with Tate. I don't know, whatever. But it's always like some other thought, or that Angela Knight chick, the one that was like an ex-con. She has like a mugshot. She's mugshot bae. John called her fat, and then she's freaking out at everybody. And I'm just like, I would say we deserve a better red pill, but we really don't. And that's because these guys are all the Monahans, and that's that Monahan type I'm talking about with the baby daddy and the 5 kids and all this shit. He's irritated and bored and frustrated. And so what, for that kind of guy, what interests them? I'm going to go on TV. I'm going to go on YouTube. I'm going to go on Twitter. And I want to see people more fucked up than me. So I realize it's not that bad. Literally a coping strategy. And that's what Pearl is doing for single guys. Hey, did you know that 70% of divorces are blah, blah, blah? Like, oh, really? Tell me more. Wow. And Tate there, the Matrix is coming out to get you. And all the guys that don't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. Oh, thank God it's the Matrix's fault. It's not because I couldn't show up to work on time. And they watch all of this nonsense. And it's just a way of making you feel better about your shitty situation in life. And somebody's in the chat. I guarantee somebody's going to go in the chat. It's like, well, I find it entertaining. It's like, trust me, bro. If you're finding it entertaining, there's a reason. There's something you probably need to address. Outside of like, I've only ever watched one episode. Like outside of that, if you're watching it on the regular, there's a reason. And there is a hole that you need filling, and you're filling it with garbage. Daniel, Brittany Venti definitely made Rollo look bad. Whatever. Nobody made anybody look bad. That's the worst part about all this stuff too, is that we can talk about all this. It doesn't really matter. Nobody looks bad. I'm watching, like my little thing right now is I always like watching Dick Masterson. He was the guy that went on Dr. Phil, shaved head, mustache, talking about women are all ridiculous. He was like pre-Roosh. Again, mostly for the meta. So right now his new marketing thing is he was shitting on, what's that guy's name? Isom, who makes comic books. He was like, this is the woke people are trying to take comics from you. Here, I'll make one for you. And he made an objectively bad comic. It was not well written. The art was like, but it was marketed like hell. And they've just having this back and forth. And, you know, it's like good little entertaining drama. And I'm like, wow, that looks pretty good. They're not growing as super fast, but it like gets buzz out there and people learn who he is, whatever. And now it's at the point where they're worrying about lawsuits and stuff like this. And I just realized it's like, yeah, I get it. But one of them, I think his co-host is a guy named Vito. And Vito was showing the numbers. And they're not growing. But it's just a lot of noise. But that's because it was all about egos. It's not about business. If that Eric guy, and do you guys really even want to hear the story? Because I'm just giving you the broad strokes for it. The guy's ego got in the way where everybody was telling me he wasn't the greatest writer on earth. And so he just has temper tantrums online. It's fucking ridiculous. And then the Dick guy's having fun with it, but nobody's making any money out of it. In fact, but here's the thing. Anybody who liked the Dick Masterson in this one still likes him. They think Eric's an idiot. Anybody who liked Eric and Isom before this thinks Eric is great. This Dick Masterson guy's an idiot. Nobody makes anybody look bad. All they do is they invigorate their tribe, and that's it. And further insulate themselves from outgroups. Because those two groups were never going to merge. They could make Dick and Eric can make each other look like the greatest guys on earth. And neither side would ever be like, well, I'm going to go check his thing out. No, it doesn't work that way. Never works that way. Roosh could have been a hero if he didn't lose his mind. I mean, he would have been Roosh. He would have been just about the same. He and Rollo would have been doing, but I mean, he was always that way. But does it really matter? Does that help you? The only thing I'm actually really irritated with Roosh is that he burned a lot of his stuff. Like, you can't find a lot of his material, and I hate to say it, but a lot of it was kind of whiny. But there was enough good things in there that we really did lose something. Oh, you're just getting mad about Daybang. Yeah, Daybang was good. I don't care who you are. I'm pretty sure you can find it if you had to. I don't think it's still offered. I mean, let me see. Daybang. Roosh. Can you still buy it? No, but you can get a paperback for $300. Jesus. Somebody is milking that. One used at $144, one new from $297. Fuck me. Look at this. No audiobook, no nothing. But you see what I mean? And just for like the old man openers, it was like worth it. Just from the very first 2 chapters in there. That's the stuff that I will argue that Roosh deciding to take Daybang off the market was more important for us to talk about than anything Brittany Venti, Rollo, any of that shit. Nobody cared about that, but this one was an actual thing. Like, I was still psyched when I saw Marty. He showed me the he found the old mystery DVD that I had back in my 20s when I was like learning pickup, the 7 to 10 hour thing. I put it. Oh, I'm supposed to put that into the I got to put that into the Patreon because I promised the guys, because there's some single guys wanting about game, and dude, teaching game to young guys, fucking frustrating. So frustrating. Like, I granted, I could probably be more thorough about it and do like Gumroad Core style stuff, but that's not really my thing. So it's more just general, telling them where to find it for themselves. But and I don't want to say specifics because it's Patreon stuff, but you'll see a guy single, wants to go out on dating, whether he's divorced, maybe he's not. And it's just obvious mistakes. And I realize this is the mistakes that the average guy makes. Like they're taking a girl out to dinner first date. Never take a girl out to dinner first date. Ever. Ever. Girls on a full stomach never have sex. Well, I'm not there to have sex. Well, then why are you rewarding her anyway? It's not even about the food, even though that's a big part of it. Going out to dinner is reward for good behavior. And if you haven't slept with a girl, you really don't have anything. You're not even friends. You're not a relationship. It's literally nowhere. That's what 2023 is. Short of sex, nothing matters. What about I got her phone number? We had a great conversation. Doesn't matter. Literally doesn't matter. Nothing in there. And so you'll see, guys, yeah, I'm taking her out to dinner. Then after that, I ask her if she wants to come home, and I ask about this and ask about this. It's like, why are you asking her? Girls hate saying no, but they're very good at not having sex with somebody they don't want to have sex with. They're really good at it. They've been practicing their lifetime. Turning no is like, girls love saying no, hate hearing no. But yeah, so they don't have a logistics plan in place to go from point A to point B to point C. You know, a spontaneity. Girls love when things are spontaneous. And I'll tell you right now, spontaneity takes some effort. You have to move to a part of town that makes it easier to have walking distance between the places. You need a bar that you're comfortable with, that you usually go there during off hours and tip very well so all the staff knows who you are. Maybe you've even been to an after party at the restaurant or not. Or not the restaurant, the lounge. Stuff like that. A lot of maybes in there. Maybe you have a coffee place and it's supposed to be systematic. I know a lot of guys just like it when things happen. I just want to talk and learn about each other. It's like, well, are you escalating? Like, no, it wasn't very sexual yet. We're doing here. Well, where's your plan to go from here to here and escalate? And they don't have any of this. And then they're like, yeah, the date went bad, and the guy will always give you like this convoluted navel-gazy theory as to why it happened. Well, I made a mistake here at this part of the conversation, but then at this part, then this part. It's like, no, man. What you say makes almost no difference unless you say something stupid. Like really stupid. Like graping stupid. Most often it's just you're not putting yourself in a position where the next decision is easy. The whole point of like that initial coffee date, it's not because you don't want to take her out to dinner. It's because you need a 15-minute date to establish this girl's not crazy. She's not going to try to murder me. She didn't catfish me with her photos or anything like that. That's the whole purpose of it. A double check. Let me just double check your work here before I sign off on it. And if it goes well, then you escalate to the next spot. Hey, maybe we're going to grab some drinks. Maybe we're going to go to the park. Maybe we're going to go somewhere else. And then you start building rapport, building comfort. That's great. And then the next spot is, hey, we're going out for drinks later. You come on, join me in this. And then maybe the next spot is, got to come to my place. And girls are freaked out about coming home to some guy's place because, like, what if he tries to murder me in that house? Well, that's usually why earlier on in the day, it's like, hey, I got to go feed my fish. And you take them back to your place, but just for like a second. Maybe you got to change your shirt. Maybe you got to feed your animals. Here, don't mind my dog. He's friendly, stuff like that. And then you leave again. And then that's the idea. It's like, okay, so if she goes back to your place, A, she's already been to your place. So it's not like some huge jump in commitment. B, she knows you're not a murderer. C, she knows your bathroom's clean. Stuff like this. So it's a lot easier. And there's all these little things you can do that make life so much easier for yourself. And even if you're in a relationship, just faking a couple single dates every now and again, it could be good just to keep your skills sharp. And girls still find it. They can role play as if they're the single friend that comes back to your place. I've done it with my girl. It's always kind of fun. Although I can't cube her anymore because now that she knows what the cube is, it doesn't work. It used to work. She loved it. Butterflies in her stomach. It was absolutely wonderful. Yeah. But that's the point, right? Remember when I talked way early on in the episode about it takes a lot of work for things to be natural. It takes a lot of work to be to be able to be spontaneous. And this is where it is for those guys that are dating. It's like, oh, it never used to be this way. Maybe not, but we also never used to have cell phones. Like there's a new environment, and I'm not saying the game has changed. The game hasn't, but the techniques and the tricks and the tactics and strategies you use just have to be a little more sophisticated. It's not a big deal. They didn't do this in the 1950s. Well, it's not the 1950s. You don't get polio. You can use the same water fountain as everybody else. And I don't know. And then the communists are now running the institutions as opposed to the things you're fighting. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah, it's not spontaneous for men. It's planning. And I think that's the core issue. Remember when I was saying before, men raised as defective women? I think that's really it. Because guys now, guys have guys are becoming entitled. And girls love saying, guys are just so entitled to this. And guys are like, I'm not entitled. You're entitled. And you're both right. Women are entitled because they're women. Men are getting entitled because they're acting like women. But they don't think it's entitlement. I just wanted this to be a spontaneous date and whatever happens, happens. And then they wonder why nothing gets planned. It's like two lesbians. You ever heard of lesbian bed death? It's because both of them are girls and neither wants to initiate. Eventually they just stop having sex. And that's why spousal abuse is the highest amongst the lesbian community, among any other communities. Like Christ on a cracker. Yeah, and why would you really want this stuff anyway? Guys are talking about love and sex and relationships as if it's some kind of magical blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I'm not 6. I'm not a 6-year-old girl wearing a fake Frozen dress. I don't need magic in life. I just need life to go well. And I think that's another reason you're not going to see things get better in that sense. Like everything is great, but everybody doesn't want it to be great. They want it to be worse. Because people are desperate. Like, I want to go back to being like a child where I didn't have to worry about mortgages and love was true and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, do you really think these guys want to be fixed? Does it sound like fixing is what they're looking for? They want to be coddled. And if you're a girl, being coddled is easy. All you have to do is string guys along, blue ball them. If a guy thinks he has a chance at sleeping with you, oh, he'll coddle you forever. Oh, it's poor baby. Tell me about it. Tell me about it. It's like, this is great. I didn't realize all my friends were awesome. And then you get a boyfriend, you change your Facebook status, and all the guys are like, I'm out of here. This lesbian's, I'm done with her. What'd you think was going to happen, bro? Ryan is actually 8. Thank you very much. I am 13, not 8. The birdie. Pearl's a stunted YouTuber in a cheap dress who doesn't go by her real name. Ryan is a lot more competent. Well, I'll let you in a little secret. Ryan's not my real name, and this is a cheap shirt. It's stupid polyester. I have my cotton ones, but this one just fits so well I kept it. I was going to throw it out because I was like, I don't want this cheap shit. Oh, they're still stringing along. And this is just like there's the pandemic of loneliness. That's why the third leading cause of death in Canada is suicide. Well, it used to be suicide. Now it's Canadian healthcare, which blew my mind. You know, out of all the deaths, how did they put it? 5% of all deaths in Canada are due to euthanasia. Think about what that means. Think about what that world is. Well, it's my middle name. That's the world we live in, where people would rather just not be here, but they don't have any dangers. Like, I can't get eaten by a bear. What are you going to do? I got to find somebody with a medical degree to do it because I'm too much of a pussy to just go and do it on my own. We can't even do anything. That's why I always laugh and everybody's like, what are these guys are, you're going to be mean to this guy and he's going to, end it. Like, no, they're not. That requires doing something. If you've listened to these MGTOW types, I guarantee you the one thing that they're like anemic to is doing shit. So no, he's not going to suck on an exhaust pipe for 10 minutes. He's not going to have a nap in the car. He's not going to suck shot a shotgun. They're not going to do anything. And it's almost sad. If it was at the point where you had to like temper your language because you could really have people cause harm and that could be part of your fault, that would be far better than what we have now. It just truly doesn't matter. That's great. So and then this is where, back to the next point. You know, I might make this a new point. Yeah.
I've talked to Ryan Stone once. I'm pretty sure the whole conversation I pushed him like pretty hard.
What was hard, Ariel?
The therapist will essentially give them SSRIs, which I think the sexual effects that SSRIs have on the body, right?
Some. Like,
Yeah.
There's tons of like MAOs and like tricyclics that you're talking about, like the type of SSRIs that used to be given to pedophiles. We don't give those to men. We don't give those to men. We don't give those to men. But he's not as informed as like I think he would like to be. Yeah.
There's this Christian guy, or no, he's Catholic or Orthodox. Orthodox. Is Orthodox Catholic or Protestant? I think it's Catholic, right? It's Catholic Orthodox. Smoking on thing. I guess he had her on a podcast with her husband who was doing the dishes. And she was just, oh man, he was just roasting her hard. It was so much fun. For like 30 seconds, I'm like, thank God I'm not the only guy who sees it. This chick's a dullard. Yeah, people get out of your way. People get out of your way right now. And this is the part that, again, this is why when you see me doing Mids Watch stuff, when you see me doing the sidebar stuff, when you see me doing the Patreon stuff, when you see me doing the Substack stuff, when you see me putting out a book, I don't deal much with this. How to get a guy to want to change. It's like, no, they don't need to change. They're going to get out of your way when you do decide to change. And I think this is the big part that I think guys need to take away from it. If you really want to carve out your own little success in the world, and don't get me wrong, this empire is mine. It's my little cozy success, and I'm perfectly happy with it. And every year it just gets better, and all I have to do is just keep working. It's crazy, isn't it? All you have to do is just show up. Show up, put a smile on, you'll be fine. Yeah, out of the way. So most guys are already getting out of your way. They're perfectly fine being Diogenes. Yeah, Diogenes. They're perfectly happy being Diogenes. They're just going to sit out there with their lantern on Twitch. They're going to sit out there in their one-bedroom apartment. They're going to do their thing, and they're going to eke by through life and just waste away into nothing. And that's men and women. A lot of women are going to do that too. But they're not in your way. They're not trying to keep you down. They may tell you that online, but like, fuck, turn off the... What did Tyler, the creator, say? Just turn off the screen, man. Cyberbullying ain't real. Jesus. Just go live. Yeah, if you, and even corporate stuff, like the corporate stuff is not for me. I've been there, done that, got the medal, don't like it. But a lot of guys do like it. A lot of guys are there. It's easier to get ahead than you think. You may not make it to CEO. That's a bit unrealistic. You kind of have to be a trust fund baby to get there or start your own company. But it's, most people I see, they go through their Deloitte couple year thing there. They get up to manager or director. They're still earning like $120,000 a year. It's maybe a dead-end job, but if that's what you're into, then go for it. The rural areas, I haven't really talked to many rural people, but everybody, when I went to my high school reunion with my class, they all seemed happy enough. Like my one buddy from elementary school has a junkyard now, and he seems perfectly happy with that. And the ones that got knocked up, not so much, but whatever. They got kids to live vicariously through. You want 3 dogs? Nobody wants 3 dogs. And definitely not at the same age. They're all going to pass like the same year, so that's going to be a rough year. Where am I going with this one? Oh, yeah, they're out of your way. Like, most people don't try. They're just fine to eke along. So if you make some efforts in any adventure, you want to be good on YouTube? All right, well, start getting good on YouTube. It'll take a long time. You may have to, like, work a dead-end job while you're working on this. You may have to learn skills into other avenues. You may have to, you have to write a book, too, but that's just it. Like, I want to do a thing on YouTube, so what I do? I learn to write a book. And all these things are funding themselves. So even if you're not good at one thing, if you're just okay at like 10 things, you'll be just as good as somebody who's amazing at one thing. So you don't even have to be particularly talented. You could be a talentless hack, but as long as you got a talentless hack with a decent amount of work behind you, you'll be fine. If you want to get better with women, same thing. Oh, learn some game tricks. Oh, but that's nerdy. Can't believe you have to learn a cue. It's like, shut up. I'm getting laid. It was fun. That's not the real authentic you. Well, yeah, Hulk Hogan's not real authentic Terry. But WrestleMania was fucking fire. I don't give a shit. What about your authentic self? It's like, I'm not insecure. I'm not insecure about the identity that I hold in my life and how that brands and what demographic that markets to. That's some weird, I watch too much Super Bowl commercial shit. You don't want to be that guy. I mean, maybe you do. If you do, just do it well. There's tons of room for insecure guys on that stupid ultimatum show. You can get on there. My mom never hugged me, and that's why I couldn't marry you. But now I'm ready. After 15 minutes with that other girl on the date, now I know what I want. It's like, fuck off. How can you take this shit seriously? How? I see idiots on here talking about anything. On Twitter, dude, I actually have to get off Twitter. I'm pretty sure my time on Twitter is limited. Because everybody is so stupid, but it's so convolutedly, derivatively stupid that it's almost like I don't want to make fun of it. It's like, do we really want to do this? Do we? Yeah, Chief I once had told me to specialize in nothing but be dangerous in multiple things. He was so true. Even Scott Adams, who I don't even know if I have a strong opinion about him. Like, I think he's a tard, but he's a wealthy tard. And his whole, like, move away from black people, I think that was fucking hilarious. The memes that follow from that alone. It's just too bad that the chick cooking with spices took over. That's even his thing out of his failed whatever. He calls it a talent stack, which is typical tech speak where they want to make just mundane things sound technological, so you're more likely to do them. So it's not being a Renaissance man. It's not being a jack of all trades. No, it's a talent stack. It's like, fuck off, man. Just get good at things. Yeah, mediocre in my world is unattainable in yours. That's the funny thing, too. Nick is kind of getting to the end of this point. And I'm not going to suggest that I'm the fucking king of kings, anything like that. There's people that are worse off than me that think I'm great. There's people that are better off than me that think I'm a piece of shit. And there's people around where I am that just want my shirts. I get it. I don't even care. It's not the point. The point is, you get to be a jack of a lot of different things. Jack of trades, a Renaissance man. You're good at this, that, and the other thing. And then as you get older, you just naturally get better at those things or get equally average at other things. So either you have like the widest talent stack or widest jack of all trades ever, or you start getting deeper with multiple things. That comes over time. That's why being 30 is better than 20. If you guys are 20 right now and you're like, man, my 20s are great, my 30s are going to suck. I'm telling you right now, your 30s are your 20s when you have money. That's it. That's the only difference. It's exactly the same. And then, so I haven't been through my 40s. I have to ask the 50-year-olds, but from what I understand, the 50-year-olds just say, yeah, being 50 is like being in your 40s without your head in your ass, or something to that effect. I think that one's useful. We need a line of pickup shirts, the Rhinestone collection. Dude, if I could figure out how to do it, I would love to start like a clothing line and properly brand it and learn that whole supply chain stuff. I think that would be wonderful. It's on the list of like, maybe that would be great in the future. Tommy Bahamas. You know what? It'd be Tommy Bahama, but it would actually taper. I am sick and tired of that Tommy Bahama straight cut down flowy bullshit. It wouldn't be that hard either. You just got to put a couple darts in the back of a Tommy Bahama shirt, cut the armholes a little tighter, and you'd have like a much better fitting. Yeah, tactical. Exactly. Now, what does that tell us about guys in their 20s when they say their 20s are their best? There's always going to be an exception. There's always somebody who peaks in high school. You can't really listen to them. I'll tell you one thing, though. For all those guys who are like, man, his life is so much better than mine. You don't want to peak early. You don't want to peak late. In fact, I don't know if peaking is a good thing at all. Like, I just keep thinking of that story of Neil Armstrong, which if you guys don't know, Neil Armstrong is the first guy who faked landing on the moon. He's the first guy who landed on the moon. And after that was done, he came back home and he's like, oh, great. I'm the first man to go into space and stand on a different planet and play some golf and drive a go-kart. It's like, what can I possibly do to top that? What can I do? And he couldn't do anything. He's like, everything he did. He can't listen to somebody. Oh, I'm president of America. Oh, that's like, you're the 42nd president. Cool. I'm the first man in space. Like, nobody could outdo him at dinner parties. There was nothing he could accomplish in his life that was better than what he'd already done. I think he was like 35 or something like that. So what did he do? He's like, well, better start drinking. Stanley Kubrick's best actor. Yeah, better start drinking. He actually had a horrible time of it. So why would you want to peak so early? Why are you in a rush to be famous? Why are you in a rush for your fresh and fit moment? Like, I get it. I honestly, and I shit on it a lot last week. I get it. Remember Fresh and Fit? They lost their demonetization. They were kicked out of the partner program. And I had a good laugh. Yeah, it was funny because, these guys have made the Red Pill look horrible, worse than ever for years and made bank off of it. And now watching them get a little bit of, well, fucking told you. It was slightly gratifying. Granted, I'm not I'm not better than that. And I still love that. Guys, got a very serious conversation to go. Gotta be worried. We've lost all our money. Cue the intro. And then take it to the limit. And you got all this rich, like, Bentleys rolling by and chicks and throwing out fat stash. And then they cut back to them somberly. We have lost all of our money. And I was going, holy shit. If I was to do a satire of this, I would have done that. Like, I couldn't have done it better myself. That is Paul Verhoeven level of directorial genius. Oh my God. Made me laugh. But then I kind of got a little sadder. Somebody else showed me a different clip where I guess Myron was talking about how he loved helping guys and, apparently saving the West and talking about race realism, because that's how you save young men. But, and he starts crying, I guess, got teared up and walked off the thing. And I poke fun at it because it's like, yeah, no, I'm not buying it. It seems a little crocodile tears. Like, I've seen guys cry over accomplishments and it's fucking, dude, it's a heartbreaking experience. It's the one, I think I've told this like maybe once or twice. I'll tell it again. I remember it was the one time. I've never seen this before. It was my first captain on board my ship. He was really good too. He was amazing at it. He wrote books on navigating the Straits of Juan de Fuca and that kind of thing. Like, he was in it to win it. And after he left that ship, he ended up teaching at the British Naval College. He was like the top 5 navigational experts in the world. Like, he was that good. And you could see it too. And he was so laissez-faire about this. My favorite time was we had to lay off on just some normal 2-week sail, something fancy. We call it the Esquimalt 500. You have to sail around Vancouver Island. And he was late for work because he was drinking the night before or something like that. But his parking spot was right beside F Jetty, which is far away, right? So it's just funny because, and he had like a little, one of them, like not a Miata, but like one of those small kind of convertibles. And he comes rolling into this 5 minutes before we take off, hops out of his car wearing his big Nautica rain gear. It looks like the yellow rain suits that everybody had to wear, but his was like branded. Comes running onto the bridge. He's sitting there in his civilian clothes. Let's get out of this motherfucker. I was like, oh man, it's like the most baller shit you ever saw. It was pretty funny too. Hair's still messy. Let's roll. Perfect navigation out of the strait. It was awesome. Anyway, so we had a lot of experiences like that. He worked us like dogs, but he was unlike the I don't know if you guys have ever been in a position where it's crunch time and it's, if you have a boss that's not very good and you can tell like they need you to overwork their lack of management skills. No, he was able to do everything we could do and more. And so he had us to that level of expectation. He was making every sail, at least one officer would cry because he ripped into him. Every member of the crew, he didn't even have to yell at the crew. Because if any member of the crew slacked on their things, like if they made a mistake, that's fine, you fix it. But if somebody fucked around, like everybody shot him in line. That's how well respected and loved this guy was. He made everybody want to be better. And all he had to do for that was, like, in a very nonchalant way, just do the absolute most amazing things ever. All you had to do was just be awesome. And other people wanted to be awesome. So we had his change of command, and that's like a ceremony. You stand, you have a parade, everybody's standing there. He signs over the command to the ship to the new guy. And he was given the speech. And I remember about halfway through his speech, he started breaking down. Just like Myron, except for, I actually cared. And it was the craziest thing because I watched like 250 guys all cutting onions on the stage. Like everybody was, stoic as you could be, but you could tell like right about then, like everybody's voice would be cracking if they had to give a speech. And so after that, we rolled him into the junior ranks mess, like literally brought him in on a wagon, which was pretty funny. But yeah, so like I've seen when a guy has accomplished great things and then how that can affect him emotionally. And so I understand, while I think it was kind of ridiculous and I think it's crocodile tears, I have a feeling that fresh and fit thing is kind of a peak moment for him. And he's like, what, 30 now? Like, he's not going to be able to have, what's the next biggest thing? There's no next biggest thing for Myron and Walter. I can almost, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. So I don't know if peaking that early is going to be a good thing at all. I think anything else they do is going to always have that shadow. It's like, the biggest thing you've ever done was kick that bitch off of your podcast with the white claw in her hand. And it is a big thing. It makes a couple million. Yeah, 32 at most. But I wouldn't want that. I don't think anybody would want that. And I think that's what a lot of guys miss when they keep thinking they want to chase glory or excellence. And it's like, slow down. Enjoy the ride. Because you don't want to peak early. You don't want to, and that's the problem too, is because peaking early is not because you're the best talent you've ever been. It's because you were in the right place at the right time for the right thing. It's almost like you need a certain level of talent to get there, but you don't need to be the best that you've ever been to get there. You just need to be good enough. I guess this is more of a sex self-actualization thing. This doesn't really have much to do with sex in that, but I really don't think it's useful to peak early. I really think it's useful to peak as late as possible or not at all. Like constant upward trajectory throughout your entire life. I think that's probably better. X-Runner 2 saw a moment like that too, except for it was a woman who lost 25% of the engineers under her command to resignations. Well, that would be the opposite. The exact opposite of what I was talking about, but yeah. What's my greatest accomplishment? Dude, I don't even have an answer for that. I really don't. I have accomplishments I like. They're all a series of good ones, and they're all... The thing is, with me, is different, is like I'm kind of a nomad. Everything I've done has been so varied from what I've used to do. Like, they're not really comparable. Like, I could say writing my first book. I could say training my first sailors and then hearing them come back and after doing like really good things in their work, I could say that stuff. I could say my deployment. I could say circumnavigating the earth. Like, you can't compare any of these things. And I think this is personal. This isn't red pill. This is just me personally. I think what I'm finding is the best thing to do is to make your accomplishments so vastly different that there is no peak. Is that useful for you? I don't know. Is that me just telling you live like me, it worked for me? Maybe. Take it, don't take it, I don't know. Do what you do with it. Let's chuck some more shit at somebody, and then we'll get back to the red pill stuff. Who do we want to make fun of?
Ian, not Ryan Stone. I think he's the most important guy in the world. Ryan Stone. Give a fuck about Ryan Stone. Me and him have gone back and forth. Blah, blah, blah. Ryan Stone does not pass the 6 foot test. He's not even a man. So I don't give a fuck with Ryan Stone.
I love that ad is like 4 years old now, or 3 years old, or something stupid. There is still guys. There was a guy commenting yesterday about man, you've been dwelling on this for years, and he hasn't thought about you since. And then right below him, somebody like posted like an hour of him ranting about me. It was just pretty funny. Don't take this stuff too seriously. I don't think he cares. I don't think I care. Nobody really cares. But if you want to spurg out about it in my comments, I'll take the engagement. Okay, so how are we ending this one? I was going to end it with the Boy Scouts. The final nail in the coffin on the episode here. There was actually I'll put a link to it in the chat. You guys might as well see it. Where is it? Speaking of a guy who hit his peak. Fair. Christopher Hitchens on the mildly fascist founder of the Boy Scouts. And I'm not going where you think I'm going with this. So something else you might notice if you're terminally online is that every time something masculine dies, everybody cries about it. You know, feminists took over the Boy Scouts. Now there's chicks in it. Now they're broke. But nobody ever attaches to the premise. What the hell do the Boy Scouts even have to do with masculinity, right? And it turns out the Boy Scouts started in like 1908. Some dude who was a big fan of the Austrian painter. Does that mean it's bad? I didn't say that. And the Austrian painter did his whole youth group thing. So like the German version of the Boy Scouts and these versions of the Boy Scouts, and they were both neck to neck, and they all liked the idea of it. The idea was they were worried that now that the Napoleonic Wars were over, men aren't able to be men, and we're all soft and weesh. All the same complaints you hear today. In 1908, people are arguing about the decline of masculinity. It's been like over 100 years, yet we're still declining, and still making powerlifting records. I don't know what to tell you. So they decided to make a comprehensive, let's make men into men. And you know what? We're going to need camping and fishing and camaraderie and a tribe of men with badges and what's that? Challenge coins. Yeah. Challenge coins and all that stuff. He's not focusing on Ryan. He's focusing on I hope he's focusing on staying out of prison. That would be nice. I mean, not for me. I kind of want to see him go to prison, but it'd be nice for him. Yeah, so you get stuff like this. There's lawsuits, there's controversy. Because in the late or in the 90s, they were like, no gays allowed. And now it's just like, dude, we'll take anybody. So it makes you think about this. When you think about all these institutions, like, oh, this is the American institution, the Boy Scouts, the Eagle Scouts, the Bear Scouts, the Uncle Touchy Scouts, whatever. They weren't really institutions. There was somebody who had a marketing idea. I need to market the brand of masculinity. And we're going to get there through hunting and fishing and camping and badges. And that's what this is. So when you see guys now, they complain about the feminists took it. It's all AstroTurf. It's fake. I mean, I don't want to say it's fake. It was a guy with a goal. They were trying to sell a branding, sell a lifestyle, sell an ideal. And you see examples of this, like the Norman Rockwell stuff, where he tried to sell Americana as, hardworking, people of the earth, farmers, American Gothic. And everybody's like, yes, this is what America used to be. I'm like, America used to be a cigarette ad as an aspirational model in Reader's Digest? Really? Not really. It was always an aspiration. Well, we don't aspire to that anymore. Did we ever, though? I'll put it this way. If everybody was already on board with the situation, you wouldn't have to sell it. It would sell itself. So just remember that. Every time you start seeing all of these, and this is why the church was always big on showing a lot of paintings of the church and paintings of godliness. It's because people weren't necessarily very godly, which is why you had to constantly cheerlead it. Same as women. I'm a strong, independent woman. Well, yeah, I heard you the first time. It's funny, though. Your bills aren't paid. You're a bit of an alcoholic, and you got some toilet paper on your shoe right now. But yes, strong and independent. I get it. Oh, yeah, I guess they did shooting over there in the States, too. That's right. But you see what I mean? You get all of these symbols, and everybody's treating it like the decline of the West. And it's not the decline of the West. It's the decline of specific propaganda in favor of different propaganda. And what is propaganda? That is well-off people encouraging people who are less well-off to do the things that they want them to do. It's no different than a girl saying, oh, if I just got you to do more dishes, maybe I'd be more comfortable and we'd have more sex. It's just that. on a larger scale. Those evil red pillars are making me look bad. So that's another reason you're never gonna like appeal to anybody else, because they aren't even looking at reality. If you just open your eyes, look at the sexual landscape the way it is right now. What is social media like? What is online dating like? What is offline dating like? Are women getting fatter? Like, just look, open your eyes, walk around, talk to people, type to people. You'll probably come to the same conclusions that a lot of the red pill, like the original red pill stuff, has come to. It'll take a while because it took us like 10 years to get there, but you'll eventually come to about the same considerations. And I agree, because I know this will happen, because this will happen now, where a lot of guys, they haven't really read Ironwood or Athel K or any of these guys. And then they're talking now, and you watch as they get along and they put out a thing. And I'm like, hey, that looks exactly like Praxeology, the Dominant Male by Ian Ironwood. And I give him the thing. He's like, oh, I've never seen this before. That's awesome. People are reinventing the wheel every 5 years. And it makes me wonder, how far has that cycle gone back? So even the red pill is kind of like a Boy Scouts, you know, want to build the world in our own image. What's your image? Self-interest. Self-interest. That's my image. Yeah, but you know, you go back 5 years, it was a completely different group of people doing red pill stuff than now. 5 years before that, another one. Hell, I love, if you go to, there's this blog called No Ma'am, who's like an MRA, switched to MGTOW, whatever, talking about the history of MGTOW. And he was referring to a lot, I guess there's a ton of material on very similar topics to the red pill that they were sharing to each other on the Usenet, like emails back and forth. So somewhere out there is an email list from 1998 that has probably the same information that Rational Male has, worded differently, different language, and just because of the nature of the technology at the time, nobody knows about it. So I made think, I bet you anything there's somebody mailing out things in comics. You know, that whole turn Mac into a man, kick sand in your girlfriend so you learn to train at the gym, then you beat his ass. Some Captain America comic from 1987 probably has the exact same thing. It almost makes you wonder if people haven't really changed over like 1,000 years. And the only difference is the manner in which we think we've discovered some new lost hidden technology. It's like, I don't know. Genetically and culturally, women haven't changed too much in 4,000 years. Even what's the guy's name? Sargon of Akkad? Like the Sargon of Akkad, not the guy on YouTube now. Like, even he was like bitching about his ex-wife. Or I've actually really got to get around to reading the Epic of Gargamesh. Gargamesh? Which one's the villain from the Smurfs and the other one's the hold on a sec. Gargamel. Okay, Gargamel is the Smurfs. Gilgamesh, not Gargamel. Is he really mixing up the oldest story of masculinity with the villain from the Smurfs? Like, yes, he is. But apparently in his stories, there's a lot of like chasing skirts, all the same stuff we're dealing now. The King of Uruk. Yeah. Because it was actually Sargon. I remember he did the one thing where he read out the Epic of Gilgamesh, the Sumerian stuff. They had a lot of the same problems we have now. Is the blue pill state of men innate or cultural? Here's the thing. It doesn't really matter. All you have to know is it's not working for you. That's it. Well, what if it clearly defined? Like, no, it's actually really easy. This is what I love when it kind of reminds me of, do you ever hear that argument where, what would you call alternative medicine if it worked? You'd call it medicine. It's the same thing. What's blue pill? What's red pill? Well, if it works for you, if it makes your sex life better, if it gives you a better identity, then it's red pill. But yeah, but it came from, it doesn't matter who it came from. That's it. That's really the only definition of red pill and blue pill. Sexual identity, positive male identity, sexual strategy. If it's making your life better in those realms, it's red pill. If it doesn't, it's blue. Doesn't matter who it came from. Doesn't matter who mentioned it. Nothing. It's all these guys trying to think that who's the authority. Well, if Rollo doesn't agree with it, it doesn't happen. Well, if Ryan doesn't agree with it, it doesn't happen. Well, if Tate doesn't say it, doesn't. Nobody cares. There is nothing that says the most liberal, progressive feminist in the history of ever, fat and whatever. If she says something that's true and it works and it's useful, fucking red pill. Who cares? Nobody, never look a gift horse in the mouth. The Smurfs, but told from Gargamel's point of view, has him as the hero. Well, are we going to go down this pathway here? I don't think so. Anyways, it's always been like this. I think that's one of those good red pill things to understand. Is it true? I don't know. It is useful, though, when you realize nothing's really changed. Guys in the 50s were worried about their masculinity, too, and girls were still sleeping behind the bleachers with the guy with the hot rod. And guys in the 1890s were, like, worried about their masculinity, but they didn't want to go join the Napoleonic Wars. And the girls were still sneaking out behind the stables to fool around with the stable boy and the knight. The Greeks guaranteed Diogenes. Yeah, pretty sure Diogenes was like sleep with girls behind his barrel. The loose woman turns Gilgamesh's friend from a wild beast man into a man, and the animals stop talking to him or hanging out with him. That's sad. That's sad. So it's always been like this. And that's where you kind of, and this is all about preventing yourself from being manipulated, because when people sell you on the past, the halcyon life of, oh, in the past this used to be great and this used to be wonderful and everything was wonderful and men were men and women were women and you're insecure and let me just sell you some merch and join my war room of masculine excellence and you'll be like that, and everybody's falling for this stuff. It's ridiculous. So part of it, and I get it, it's like top tier Redditor when you look at the 1950s photos of guys having a barbecue with their family, and it's like, she was on Quaaludes and he was on this and his kid was gay. It's like, well, there's some truth to it. The truth to it is you got to stop cheerleading the past, like a fictional past. You got to accept it for reality. Now, granted, it's typical Reddit type autists. They take something, a very simple message, like it wasn't better in the past. If it was better back then, it wouldn't have changed what it is now. This is actually a specific red pill thing. I think Whisper talks about it, where he makes fun of the trads yet again, saying, yeah, everybody was talking about traditional conservatism. But let me ask you this. When the baby boomers, they were offered the pill, the birth control pill, and you got to have consequence-free sex. They ditched traditional conservatism like that week. Free love? Fuck it. I'll become a hippie. I'm done with this traditional conservative stuff. So if they didn't want it, how good could it have been? If they would rather have the boomer lifestyle than that, how good could it have been? You see what boomers are like. Do you want to be a boomer? No, I don't think anybody does. Even boomers don't want to be boomers. They just don't know any better. But if that's the decision they made, everybody would. Build back betterer. Build back what, though? You just got here. We all just got here. There's nothing new. There's nothing new. Build back the past. Save the West. It's like, what West? You were never there. You have no idea what you're saving. And you know what the problem is when you make like fungible, vague things like this? Is that some marketing asshole will fill it up with his coffers. Dude, the West is actually my checking account. And to save it, you need to throw money at it. And in return, I'm going to offer you emotional feel goods. It's a dopamine high. And you know the funniest, I'm going to end on this. Maybe we'll bant a bit, but I'm ending like the cast on this. Do you see those new AI TikToks? Oh, yum yum, ice cream, thank you, roses, smell nice. You've seen the thing, right? What do you think these stupid masculinity grifts are? Whoa, masculine, thank you very much. Buy my book. Hey. And yes, I'm selling a book, I get it. The difference is I'm using these tools as best I can to provide actual stuff. Does it make me better or worse? I don't really care. Does it work? If it doesn't, then don't buy it. That's all I can say. Even if I was lying to you, I'd still tell you I'm being honest. So what's the point of even trying to convince? So yeah, it's all that same thing. The only difference is Matt Walsh, instead of saying, ice cream, looks good. He's like, Troons, looks good. Yum, yum, thank you. And Peterson, back to the start. It's at that same way. He's getting $8 million a year now. He gave up $20 million a year on Patreon. Yeah, but he's getting $8 million a year now on Daily Wire. He'll be just fine. And what's he doing? Same thing. He's doing the AI thing. Here's the talking points that all the insecure people that have been latched onto you for the longest time should use an authority over. And so here's the points we want you to talk about. Here's the things we want you to address. Here's the stuff we want you to tweet about. And you have to do this many tweets a month. Yum, yum. Ice cream. Roses. Thank you. My LARP is on the way on sale now. Anyway, so that's it for this one. It's I know it got meandery. What it is, though, is this is like, I don't like talking about Dread every episode. I was probably going to get into that. So what I'm going to do now, instead of that, So I've already got in the last Substacks where she doesn't love you the way she wants to be, or the way you want her to, the way men and women handle jealousy and infidelity and how that matters for Dread, women acting as shitty as you let them. And it's got some follow-up things. So what I'm probably going to do then is just over the next few podcasts, I'll bunch up a bunch of them and be more hard-hitting and fast-paced and less like relaxed in these podcasts until I get sick of talking about Dread every fucking podcast, and then switch back to more of a meandering storyteller type thing. And then we'll see how these things do. Yeah, it's interesting to hear guys complaining about women being unruly and acting like men in the 1800s. Oh yeah, dude, wearing pants and riding bicycles? What the fuck? Imagine Little Penny, but with Ryan Stone. That's the merch I would buy. Well, to be fair, and this is something else. It's so RAR Squad is now a thing. The hell is RAR Squad? Oh, you'd be surprised. You'd be surprised. It's the T-Rex guys. So I have to retire this level of merch that we got going on now, and I'm going to start doing some new ones. So I haven't done it yet. Right now, there's just a standard use code T-Rex, 15% off of the thing. I'm going to put a final sale on it. I'll probably put it out on the emails and that if you guys are not on the Substack where you can get these emails, which is this one. I think that's how I do it. I think that's the right link. Let me check. Did I do it properly? Yes, I did. So I'll put a thing out on here. It'll be like a final sale. Just basically anybody who's ever like been curious about it, I'm going to put it at like a fire sale, get rid of it. Discontinuing the entire line of merch, and we're starting up a new thing. That'll be on the gaming channel though, so just follow me on Digital Ryan for that one. But aside from that, hope you guys enjoy yourselves. We are going to talk to... Who's the one running this one? Actually, I gotta... Oh, fuck. I never did the... Where in the hell are these guys redirect? Who's doing the Rule Zero today? Post Zero... Fuck, I don't know. All right, whoever it is, they don't have monetization turned on. It might be Clary. It might be Glenn. Maybe I can find out. Hold on a sec. Has anybody got a thing? Maybe we're not doing one. Oh, no, we are. It's going to be Glenn. Okay, Glenn's doing it, but Glenn doesn't have his stupid redirects up, so I can't take you directly there. So just go to his. We're going to have fun on this one. What are we talking about? I don't even know. Does he know? Christian. I don't know what the Rule Zero topic is. He didn't tweet about it. Oh, he's talking about conferences, if we're ever going to do that conference. That'll be kind of interesting. Be able to tell some old war stories of the last two conferences. Anyways, enjoy yourselves on this one. Let's get out of here and let's poke fun at one more person on the way out. Let's pick Bo. Oh, no. Oh, dude. It's almost September. We can't milk this much longer.
I love the way girls smell. I love how they always make sure, by and large, they shower, and they just have an amazing smell to them in general.
'79T 2458 Learning Corp. Little Red Riding Hood. Take one.